Okay, so welcome to the
Well,
NAPI.
hold on. It says preparing to live stream the webinar,
It's
setting up.
it's already live though.
Ah,
Like
okay,
as
sorry.
soon as you get the live in the little corner,
Ah, okay.
you're live. So welcome to the NAPI team meeting for June 24th, 2019. We'll go through our standard agenda, which is to ask if there's any announcements. Does anybody have any announcements or information they want to share today? Standard agenda, which is to ask if there's any. Okay, if nothing there, we'll look at the milestones. So I'm going to share milestone 11. So here's the milestone that we have. So the first one, and I think we talked a little bit about this last time, was a feature suggestion that we've got, which was the NAP should allow setting of the length property functions. I think this one, we discussed it last time, but I didn't have quite enough context to actually answer why the length was useful. And I haven't had a chance to look at that. I don't know, Gabriel, if you know off the top of your head.
No, I haven't had a chance to look at this either.
Okay. So we'll leave it on the list and come back to it once we have. The next thing is what should go into NAPI 5. So I know, Gabriel, you've been managing that one.
Yeah, I've been backporting things intensively here. The only one that I had was to maybe also release nappy add finalizer, because we need that for Node add-on API. Because we have to like attach data to functions, and right now we've basically implemented nappy add finalizer using like these one-off symbols and stuff, but
Right.
that's not the right way to do it because it's visible from the JavaScript side. So I was proposing that we also add nappy add finalizer to an API 5, and to that end I've been backporting it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's basically the situation. We've got date, we've got nappy add finalizer, and we've got the optional semantics of the callback to the thread safe function being backported. So I have PRs for all of those.
Okay.
I can paste the PR URLs if you're interested.
I mean, we could actually promote them in master right now, or are you just doing the backports to make sure there aren't any?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then there would be one final PR which has to trickle down to 8, which is to actually mark them as stable and you know rearrange the headers and introduce like nappy version 5 and so.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So that, yeah, I think that sounds good. So okay, so you're progressing it.
Yeah.
And it's probably big enough picture. We should probably leave it on here.
Yeah. Oh, and the PR that renders the thread safe function callback optional has landed on master now.
Okay.
So now it's just a matter of backporting it. So we don't actually have any outstanding features that we need to stabilize.
Okay. Good. Do we need some additional async worker variants? I believe I landed the first one, one of the first ones that Kevin had worked on last week. Let's see. Actually, sorry, no, that's something different. Right, so we talked about using, providing some new ones. I guess there's probably not too much to talk about this week. We agreed it was a good idea, right? So.
Yeah. I certainly haven't gotten around to it.
Okay.
I've been busy with the backporting stuff.
Right. The only other thing I think we could do is figure out, try and think about like how we could make it more obvious that those are some like help wanted kind of things. But okay.
Yeah, maybe we can attach like a help wanted label.
Right. Help wanted, and
I'm not sure how many people check ABI stable node, right? So.
Yeah, people using it though. So.
All right.
Well, yeah, actually, no, I meant more like, yeah, no, you're right. I was thinking more like getting some issues opened in Node add-on API.
Yeah. That would probably be the more.
Here's what we want to do, and so I think that's the next action is if we can actually get. Let's just rate that. So next action. open some help wanted issues in the Node add-on API repo.
But the original issue is in Node.js API repo.
Right. Now but probably there's several different async worker variances there.
The issue 473 is on the sorry.
Sorry, here, let me bring that one in because I opened it. It's there we go.
Okay, so maybe we need to tag this like with help wanted tag.
Okay, so maybe let's see. Sure, I'll tag that guy. Okay. I think there were a few other ones too, right? Like,
yeah, the nappy progress worker, I think, was another one.
Right. So really, so next step.
Oh no, this was it. Sorry, async progress.
This was.
Yeah. So that's it. Okay. For some reason, I thought that when you talked about it, there was maybe a couple variants, but if there's just the one, then tagging that other issue.
Well, there's two of them, right? There's progress and promise. Those are the two big ones, I think.
Okay. So we should probably open a help wanted for the promise one, right?
I think so, yeah.
Or so maybe that's here. Is that this one?
We have something for promise. Well, there's the one from Eric. Let me see what he says here. Promise regarding, okay, hard consider a legacy field that wishes to return a promise. Yeah, so he like Eric's sort of overarching issue also mentions that there ought to be like a promise variant of the async worker.
So that's this one, or oh, right, okay. I just wonder if it's better to have like add a promise worker one versus having somebody read through the whole thing to find that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if we have any PRs because this is issues. Is PR, I guess. Async promise class. Here we go. Quite an old one. I think this is. I think we have a PR, but it kind of stalled. Yeah, it's a huge PR.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not sure it was lined up necessarily with the promise worker, was it?
Yeah.
Because really, we wanted something that was compatible with NAND as the reason. Otherwise, maybe it should be outside, right?
Yeah. I mean, this needs a rework, I think, because it really is a huge PR. But I mean, we can still use it to have a look at the interface and see if we like it. You know, maybe we can just reuse the API from it, or just. Yeah, because right. I mean, this is, boy.
But ideally, what we want is it to be the same API, like the same interface as the NAND one, so you can very
Yeah. Okay, yeah, then I guess,
over, right?
Yeah, we can probably just start a new issue and then just give our thoughts there.
Right. So maybe. Okay, so we have an issue for progress worker, but not promise worker, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe I should just do that right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. And maybe mention that we should try to have it resemble the NAN
Right.
interface as much as possible, just so we have that.
Oops. Right. Yes, for sure. So basically, issues, new issue. Promise. And not this one. This one, right?
Sorry, Michael. Are you sure that NAN has promise worker?
I'm just going on the comments that were there.
I'm searching.
Yeah, okay, because that's.
All right, API. No, it actually doesn't.
Okay. But it does have the progress worker, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to do it if it's not. Like we just want to do what is there in NAN to ease moving over.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, so if we which does not preclude us from having more stuff, right? Because I mean, we also have the thread safe function in
sure. But that's not, I don't think that's his priority. Like, I think in this case, it was like somebody was saying, hey, there's an equivalent in NAN. We looked at it and said, hey, yeah, that would make sense for migration purposes, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, but I don't see it. Like, there's progress, but not promise.
No, right. Promise.
So progress worker, I mean, because basically we've said before that, an API should mostly be a wrapper.
Yeah.
But I think one of the reasons we would deviate from that is if there's something in NAN, because we also want to make migration easy.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, then this has just decreased heavily in priority.
But progress workers is
yeah, progress worker for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, but yeah, I don't think that promise worker, because it's not there, doesn't need to be prioritized. And if anything, it might even be something that, we would suggest be in a separate module, right?
Yep.
So, okay. So I think then we've basically said, okay, where is, seems like the only we need,
progress worker.
Is progress.
So basically the only mention of promise worker is from Eric, because he was suggesting that it doesn't have support for promise. So, perhaps it ought to, but that's it.
Right. Okay, we have Okay. Okay, so I think that's any other discussion on that one then? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. Workshop. So I think the workshops were all, we submitted everything. We're just waiting to hear back. That's why this is still open.
Yep.
I've
made some progress on my little workshop. So I've booked the room, but I haven't yet received confirmation on everything, so I can't make it official just yet. But I'm making progress on it internally.
Okay.
So just so y'all know, and
yeah, let us know once you have dates and times so we can help promote too.
yeah, my plan is to use Twitter and DMs for feedback. So when that happens, I'll be asking everybody to please retweet. And
sounds perfect.
We'll go from there.
Okay.
Just got to finalize everything.
Okay, sounds good. For async worker and issues, so this is the one I believe that Eric landed.
Yeah, that's sort of the umbrella issue.
Right. So basically, Kevin made a PR, and I believe I landed that last week. So that's just a little bit of progress.
Yeah.
Now we have versions where the callback is optional. Still not in a release yet, so we should maybe think about when we need to do a release. But
yeah, regarding that, I was hoping one of you might be able to have a look at the thread safe function PR too, because I think it's ready to go. Like I've gone through it, and we've actually had somebody like really put it through its paces and find like a bug with it, and so we fixed that as well. So I really don't see anything else that needs to be changed. And Kevin had the documentation in a separate PR. So once we have it landed, the documentation can go in as well.
Okay.
So I think we should have some more eyes on it, and then that can go as far as I've already approved it, but I kind of don't want to land it until y'all also have a look at it just in case.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try and take a look this week.
Okay.
And so if Nicola has time, we can, because that you're right, it would be good to. I don't think there's any rush for a release, but we're getting to the point where we have a few things that might be worth.
Yeah.
If that one lands too, then it starts to make sense. Okay. And there's a few more things there. I guess we could open some help wanted issues there too, but that somebody needs to get some time. That's one. If any one of us had time to open some of the other things, we could do that. But I think Kevin's kind of working on it, so that's good.
Yeah.
Viewing feature breakage. I don't think there's too much more to say there. Nicola, you reported on that guy. You were looking at iConf. Did that progress?
Oh no, no. I remember that I did what they requested me, but I'm waiting.
Okay, so maybe ping him again. What's your PR number?
It's the PR. It's in this table. Icon view.
Okay, right.
The 19.
Oh, right, new one. Okay. Okay, so you did all the fix-ups.
Oh, needs a rebase, looks like.
Oh. Right. Can you rebase? So Nicola, if you can rebase, I'm just pinging him if he can take a look. Okay. And Jim's still working on SQLite, and I don't think there's too much else that I can remember. We might even be able to close that once we get through a few more things. But Jim's working on the NAPI or SQL port. Burn down list of issues raised by module owners. There was a few in the repo, but nothing major that I'm aware of now. Anything that you know of that really needs attention?
Well, much to my delight, I'm finding that in the Node add-on API repo, people are posting issues and other people are answering and helping each other out. So that's a very good dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've seen more and more of that, and I think that you're right.
Yeah. In terms of, yeah, I guess that's the next one. There's some stuff in the Node repo, but
there's a few, like there's a memory issue reported, which I helped, I think the person figure out wasn't a Node thing.
It was a debug problem.
Right.
yeah.
And so, okay, let's look even like GitHub. Sorry, I'm looking, let me flip over here. If we go to,
Oh, in the core repo, there's some new NAPI stuff going on. Like the one that I'm involved in is this type tagging thing. Turns out that using just snappy wrap may not give you, snappy wrap plus snappy defined class may not give you a strong enough indication that an incoming object does really have the right pointer inside it when you unwrap it. So it will, if you're calling, if it is the this parameter of a prototype method, then it's guaranteed to have the right pointer. But if it's not, then you need to have additional guarantees, because you could pass in an object that pretends to be a whatever, and then you unwrap the native pointer and you cast it and you can crash or otherwise.
right. I still wondered how serious that was, right? Like, is it something that you need to dynamically check?
Yeah. So basically what happens is, if you want to be absolutely sure, and if you have like multiple native add-ons interacting and stuff like that, then as long as you have a method, any method, prototype or otherwise, which as a parameter takes an object which it internally unwraps, then for that you need really, really strong type checking, stronger than what NAPI instance of can provide, because you can do all kinds of prototype shenanigans and end up unwrapping the wrong type of object.
Right, but it's back to, I know it can happen.
Yeah.
But is it that dynamically you can't tell? Like, is it that you should be checking that dynamically at all, or should you know what type you have? Like in terms of your pointer management?
Well, in a perfectly generic scenario, you should be checking, right? But in practice, yes, most native add-ons are fronted by JavaScript code, which makes use of them. So yes and no, right? But if your native add-on, if you have chosen to take the path where you implement your abstractions in your native add-on, so instead of exporting just a bunch of functions and then wrapping those functions into classes and a nice interface on the JavaScript side, if you do the nice interface on the C side or the native side, then you do have to do this strong type checking. So I mean, this seems it seems a little overdone, but it is not implausible. That's the thing. So
well, but yeah, but it's not implausible doesn't sound strong to me, right? If you know what I mean. Like I'm trying to just understand that, like, because every time we expand the surface, it's more maintenance and more. So like if it's like, well, yeah, this could happen, but never will in real life.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I know that.
But if it's like, oh yeah, this is a common use case and people are going to run into it, then it's like, yeah, okay, right. I'm just, I haven't quite understood how it's a common use case yet.
Yeah. So that's that's basically the crux of the matter. Is, I mean, I think I submitted a PR that implements a version of this interface. But I'm not super keen on landing it until we have established that it is in fact something we want to add to an API. I'm perfectly happy if we end up closing the PR without landing it.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Because yeah, that's where I'm just like, if it's really needed, yes. If it's like will never actually happen in real life, then it's Like,
the truth is that I'm beginning to think that this whole wrapping and basically attaching native data to JavaScript objects API it has sort of evolved organically. Like were we to start it today, we would probably start with type tagging, you know. And the other thought that I had was that actually JerryScript does it really well, because JerryScript did type tagging from day zero with this API, right?
So sorry, explain that to me again. So basically you would start with type tagging, meaning that you would.
So in JerryScript, when you attach a native pointer to a JavaScript object, you don't allocate anything. So JavaScript does the memory management for you. Okay, that's a little overboard for Node.js, but still, basically what you tell JavaScript is, please give me a native pointer to this object, and here's a structure that contains a size and two function pointers, and one of them is a constructor, one of them is a destructor, and the size is obviously the size of the memory of the resulting object. Right. And that structure is stored at a global static address, so the address of the structure can serve as the type tag. So you pass this pointer into JavaScript. JavaScript allocates the memory for you, and by the way, it now has all the information to also destroy the object, to both construct and destruct the object, right? Because the type tag is at once also like a type information and a lifecycle management information resource for JavaScript. Right. So then we have type tagging and we have lifecycle management with a single API, right? And you know, I mean, obviously for Node.js this is not an option, because the allocator for the pointer can be different. We don't want Node.js to take over the responsibility of allocating memory for objects which have native pointers attached to them. So this API is not good for JavaScript or for an API, but the type tagging is still a good idea, because then you can have any number of native pointers associated with an object, and they are all distinguishable from one another by virtue of these type tags. So, and in the early days of NappyWrap, we were thinking about like, okay, yes, you can wrap one thing, but what if you want to wrap multiple things, right? There's no reason not to be able to do that. And the implementation can do it with V8 privates. And even if it couldn't, even if you could only attach a single pointer, we could structure that, you know, and return the appropriate substructure to the add-on.
Right, we can always, we can basically make the single pointer we added.
Exactly, and then take over management of that single pointer and then store a list at that single pointer, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
So either way, it is doable, and it seems that it is desirable too. Like I was hoping we could get away with a single pointer and with JavaScript with the JavaScript type system as the type tagging. But obviously for the reporter of that issue, that's not a strong enough guarantee. So we need to decide whether theirs is a common enough use case that it warrants
an
API. So we need sort of a wider discussion on that topic.
Right, like when you unwrap your object, because normally the unwrap takes place, and by the time your function gets called, right? Well, I guess you call unwrap and you get the pointer back, but the only thing you should be unwrapping in your class is what was, you know, what was passed into the function is the this, I think, which is then
the way I think about it. The way I think about it is that as soon as you have an interaction between two wrapped instances, then you need this. Because if you just have prototype methods on one wrapped instance, then you never need this, right? So if all the prototype methods of all the wrapped instances take primitive data, then you're all set, right? But one case that I can think of is if you have like a database, right? You have a database handle and you have a query handle, right? Depending on how you structure your API, and you can avoid this, don't get me wrong, but if you structure your API in such a way that you know like, for example, if you want to retrieve records from a query, right? you call something like database handle dot retrieve records, and you pass it the query handle, right, as the first parameter. At that point, you need to unwrap the query handle, but you cannot know that the user used your API correctly. They may have passed in something that's not a query handle, right, accidentally. And then
you're saying they could pass you an object, which was any object.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, if they pass in a plain JavaScript object, then the check is very simple. It's like, this is not the query handle because it doesn't have a native pointer.
Right.
But if it does have a native pointer, then what is it? You know, that's the problem. You can check, is the object passed in instance of a query handle class, right? That's a fairly strong indication that it's okay, but it doesn't survive prototype manipulation. That was the original issue, that you can use prototype manipulation to pass in an object that does not have a pointer inside it, or has the wrong pointer inside it, and it still passes the instance of check.
Right, but is that we did it on purpose, or was that an active I tried to bypass the check versus I manipulated the prototype for a good reason?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, this is something we need to decide. Like, this seems like you have to go really, really out of your way to actually get it to fail like that. So that's where I was kind of like, I can kind of understand that, like, if you want to check everything, but there's probably a lot of other places we could come up with something similar. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but I don't know if there are too many other places where you're retrieving native pointers, right, which don't have any type information. So, yes, prototype manipulation is one of the Achilles heels of JavaScript. We all know that, right? Yeah. But yes, within that, it does work pretty well. I
mean, I guess the other flip side is, like, for the new methods, how complicated and how much risk that they won't be implementable somewhere else is there? If the answer is 0.
I'm not too worried about that. Like, basically, if the JavaScript engine supports attaching a native pointer to a JavaScript object, then we're done. So,
which we already depend on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you have a JavaScript engine that doesn't support that, it's not really extensible in any way. It's just living in a vacuum at that point. You can't really write any bindings for it. It's unless you render the pointer as an integer and pass it into JavaScript as an integer, which is a disaster. So it has to have that pretty much. So in terms of not being implementable, I don't think that's a problem. But the question is, do we want to have even more APIs? Now, another sort of thread in this discussion is Timothy, who said to please hold off on this PR because he wants to do some more deep thinking about it, and he's a good person to be thinking about this, because he's also had many good ideas regarding the original Nappy wrap. So he drove a lot of this, moving away from prototype manipulation discussions and so forth. So if he has some time to spend on this, and he has some insights, then I would definitely wait on his input.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's not a rush. Like, it's pretty good right now.
Yeah. Okay. So there's no rush. The other, because I'll just ask the last couple questions, was like, so this basically lets you say, I'm going to tag this, and then I'm going to get the tag, and I could check.
Exactly. Yes.
I mean,
and this, there's another fundamental assumption in all of this.
Yeah.
That is the fact that once a process or like a JavaScript world is set up, and I don't want to call it a process anymore because now we have worker threads and stuff. But anyway, a JavaScript world, once it's set up with native add-ons and everything, the assumption here is that it is strictly additive during its life cycle. So because if you start unloading add-ons and then reloading them into the same thread while it's still running, then these you can end up assigning the same address to a different type tag. So there doesn't seem to be any danger of this happening now, because we are still in the process of implementing proper cleanup for our thread as a whole, let alone within a thread. I don't think we'll ever do within a thread.
Yeah.
At least I don't see it.
So if this, yeah.
So, but it is an assumption that we're making here.
Yeah. The other thing I wonder, like this is a tag and untag, so it lets you tag anything. Is the tagging needed for anything beyond things that are wrapped?
I don't think so, because the only danger is that you will cast a pointer into the wrong structure. That is a very, very serious problem. If it's applicable to less serious problems, sure, but
I'm more like the so for example, there's a wrap function, right? What if we, alternatives are something like a new wrap function that gives you a tag?
You mean it returns like some sort of unique value?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it could do exactly the same thing as the current tag does, but gives you, basically, when you wrap, here's your unique tag.
Well, okay, but it couldn't give you a unique tag, because then it would have to give you a different unique tag every time, right? And you do.
Well, sorry, not in the wrap, but there must be well, actually, no, that's not true. When you let's see, I'm just trying to think how the wrapping unwrapping works. Because either they always have to be unique or multiple instances can use the same thing, right?
Yeah, but if multiple instances use the same thing, then the thing that they use has to be coming from the add-on.
Yes.
I mean, okay, we can implement it, like, do you want a new type or do you want an old type? But no, we actually can't, because if you want an old type, then which one do you want, right? So pretty much the add-on has to say, paint it with this color, sort of thing,
But like, so for example, you provide a constructor, right? That, yeah, like you could because I'm trying to, I don't remember all the interfaces off the top of my head, but the way the async wrap, because that's where the wrapping is used, right? You end up wrapping something which then you create you get instances. So when you say new,
well, you can wrap any JavaScript object, including plain JavaScript objects. But yes, most often wrapping is used in conjunction with nappy defined class, meaning that you wrap instances in the constructor. So yeah, the first thing you do in the constructor is create a native data or heap allocate the native data structure, initialize the data structure, and then you nappy wrap, thereby associating the data structure with the JavaScript object, and then you send off the JavaScript object.
Right.
So yeah, that is the most common way. And then when you get the JavaScript object back, you can use nappy instance of to make sure that it is from that constructor and not some other JavaScript object. Yeah, that is the most common way of using it. But you can wrap any old JavaScript object.
Okay, but are you saying that the instance of already solves the problem for the common case?
Yes. Commonly or correctly used, it is a fairly strong type checking. It is as strong as any type checking will be in JavaScript. So you can fool instance of, yes, you can. And therefore, you can also fool it on the native side.
Right.
So that's the contention, basically.
Right. Okay. But we could make it stronger so that you couldn't, you could make it so that on the native side, that instance of did potentially the right thing.
Yes.
Right? Like basically, if there was, if we tagged it behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a great idea. Okay. Yes. 100% agreed. Yes. And then there's no new APIs or anything, but oh my goodness, and that's a beautiful idea. Actually, we can use the address of the constructor as a tag.
I was thinking we had some address already inside that would give us.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, agreed 100%. We might run into issues with inheritance, because with inheritance, it's supposed to be instance of, so it better not fail, even though the tag is mismatched because it's really an instance of a subclass. But we can probably handle that gracefully. and correctly. But yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, if we made instance of stronger for use on the native side, then okay, yeah, I'm gonna work with that and see if I can obviate the PR that is in progress right now.
Okay, because something like that I could say is like, okay, we're just made the check stronger, and you know, if it solves the problem, less APIs to maintain, whatever. It's okay.
Okay. There's one more issue.
Yep.
The constructor address may not be the right way to go. We may need both the constructor address and the data pointer that is being passed to NAPI defined class, because it may be a class factory, in which case the constructor address is really supposed to be dynamic, right?
Right.
So, but of course it cannot be dynamic on the native side, because you cannot just create functions on the fly like native functions, not without FFI, right? So we need more than that. We probably need the constructor pointer and the void star that was passed in. Okay. And then for a strong instance of check, yes, the instance would have to bear those two marks, basically, in order to.
So what's the tag doing today?
That's what it's doing. Basically, after you call NAPI wrap, you would say tag this instance with this pointer.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then, you know, afterwards.
But you're giving it the pointer to tag it with?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you're already kind of giving enough information during instantiation.
Right. Like it might have to be, though, that if you want to be sure, you need to provide a void pointer. You can't just provide null, right?
Well, I mean, you can provide null if the constructor is sufficient. So, you know, I mean, it may not be a dynamic.
Sure, yeah, right. But there's some, like, we might have to say, like, if you want to use the if you're doing something that's a factory and, you know, you're going to using the same constructor with multiple ones, then beware, don't pass in null for the data pointer, even if you don't need it, right?
Yeah. Okay, but I think those who do work with factories, they are already aware of this because they are the ones who rely on the data pointer. So they are familiar with the workflow. So I don't think we need to emphasize too much, no more than we need to emphasize the importance of the void star pointer at all. Right. But I just thought of one thing, which is that I don't know if we can do this entirely behind the scenes, because you know, we have NAPI new instance, right? Mm-hmm. So if you say NAPI new instance, you pass in the constructor, then the constructor is just a NAPI value, and the constructor may or may not have like the function pointer stored inside, because because you know, you may be constructing an instance for a class that you didn't define using NAPI define class. You know, the constructor may be coming in from JavaScript, and it may just be a plain pure JavaScript constructor.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't really get an opportunity to retrieve this function pointer and the void star. You know, you would have to receive it explicitly. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we can do this behind the scenes. Like we can't do it without the new API. What we can do behind the scenes is we can augment NAPI instance of. We can obviate the need for half this API. Like, to actually perform the tagging, you need to perform an explicit step which tags. However, the step whereby you check in addition to instance of as to whether it is tagged, that we may be able to forego.
Right, and I guess the other thing too would be, would it need to be a tag method, or could it be an extension to some of the existing methods where you pass in, you know, there's two variants of it now, one which lets you pass in more information, and if you pass in that other thing, it gets tagged.
Yeah. That's an alternative I've considered, right? Like, because you know, you don't want to call into an API too often, right?
Right, and maybe
Especially if you're in a fairly hot chunk of code, then you want to avoid calls into an API as much as possible.
Right.
So yeah, if the overall use case turns out to be that this is used in conjunction with nappy wrap, like 99.99999% of the time, then yes, then we need to. We should have I was floating the idea of like a nappy multi-wrap. Like I floated that before.
Right.
But I'm floating it again because now this idea came up, and the idea that you can attach multiple independent pointers is basically sort of a side effect of the type tagging, you know. And this time we're introducing it because of the type tagging, not because we want to be able to attach multiple pointers, right? So the argument has sort of flipped, but the type tagging enables multiple pointers by default. Right. So we might as well, you know, get that one too.
Yeah. Instead of multi-wrap, though, is it possible to have just a nappy wrap that you can call twice?
Yes, but not with the parameters that it has now.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. So, but I'm more like, you know, okay, if it's that we need to extend the parameters, that seems like a reasonable way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you end up with mostly the same code.
We don't need to call it multi-wrap. I mean, we could call it nappy tagged wrap or you know. We can come up with a sensible name, but the bottom line is it is exactly like nappy wrap, except it takes one more pointer, which is the type.
I guess the answer is, I mean, my mind is, if this is a real problem, shouldn't we be like saying, well, here's the new way to do it. You know, here's the new parameters. Everybody should be passing us enough so it can be properly wrapped and instance of is stronger. Or is there like an overhead cost reason why you wouldn't do that?
Okay, let me understand that last one, that last part. An overhead.
It's like, should we have a new wrap, which is now the one we want everybody to use, versus calling it tag wrap? Is it just like, you know, when you're wrapping, you should wrap in this way, and we should have tagged, maybe we should have tagged it from the beginning, but we forgot to. So now we're gonna, you know, we're not gonna delete the old one, but we'll add in a new one that lets you do it better.
Oh yeah.
Tell everybody to use that, right?
Yeah. I mean, that would be.
In which case, I would just call. Yeah, I guess it's that we don't have same function.
The thing is, though.
Parameters.
Yeah. I mean, if it turns out that wrapping and ensuring the integrity or ensuring the type of the pointer is the only reason or the overwhelming reason for doing this tagging. If that is the case, then yes, then we'd want to come up with a new version of wrap.
Yeah.
So the only reason why we would separate it into two operations, one to wrap, one to tag, is if you tag for other reasons too.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But if it turns out that that's not really often the case, then yeah, we can just come up with a new type of wrap.
Right.
Yeah. So and that's in there. So this thought is in there, and.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we just need to sort of mull it over some more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. No, that helps me. Because I've been looking at it and thinking, I'm like, I know we can, but should we? Is the
yeah. And speaking of native pointers, there's another thing going on with native pointers. It turns out that my concept of what the engine does is all wrong.
okay.
I had this concept in my mind that when you tear down the JavaScript world, the garbage collector basically garbage collects everything, right? Mm-hmm. Because you know it's cleaning up. But no, it turns out that these finalizers to these native pointers, which we have attached to the objects, they never get called during environment teardown.
Right. Most of the time, you're just going away completely.
That's right. But with worker threads, this is not the case.
Yeah, no, that's yeah.
So Anna pointed this out, and it was quite shocking to me. And so you know, as part of the ongoing saga of you know tearing things down correctly, now that we have worker threads, I started working on basically rendering all of these finalizers as environment cleanup hooks just to see if it would work.
Right.
And it becomes an intricate dance, right? Because you know, why are you tearing down this object? Is it because the environment is going down? Is it because the garbage collector said finalize? Or is it because you said delete the reference? So, and you're familiar with this, I know, because you've been handling the delicate dance of, you know, when to call the finalizer, when to actually delete the object and all that. So now there's yet another twist in this saga, which is like, you know, the environment teardown may be the reason for it, during which time I think you can no longer call clear weak, because if you do, then the engine will abort. And so you have to be really careful. Like you need to free some stuff, but not the reference anymore.
Yep.
So, but the thing is, we kind of want this because otherwise there's just no way to prevent memory leaks. We have to have something for engine teardown.
What happens with non-NAPI ones?
They
I
get
guess
leaked.
The same problem is there, right?
They have the same problem.
Yeah. It's just that we might be slightly better off because we actually have a layer where we could do something.
Yes. I mean, ultimately, we have all the tools, and add-on maintainers have all the tools for cleaning up, because they could just do, you know, cleanup hooks. But you know,
right,
it is quite an intricate dance, and if we have them all do this dance, then they're never going to be in sync, and there's always going to be bugs somewhere. But on the other hand, I'm not sure if we can simply just, you know, take all the finalizers and stick them into the environment hooks list and then just hope for the best. You know, that may not be something we can do. But since we've never done it, we have to see.
We really want is a finalize on exit.
Well, ideally, you would tell the engine, listen, buddy, garbage collect one last time, clean up properly after yourself, because you have all these, you know, native pointers hanging around, and you know, you may want to clean that up. But I forget now what they were, but Anna mentioned two very good reasons why this is not possible. Oh yeah, it's because she said that on the one hand, the engine gets torn down after the node environment has already been torn down, at which time NAPI is no longer usable anyway, because there is no more node environment. And second of all, even if that were not the case, she had a second reason for that. Like, even if we were to flip it, where you tear down the engine first and then the node environment, she had an argument for that one too. So basically, she was saying that asking the engine to garbage collect everything is not an option. So this is where we are now, and I'm going to see if we can do it. If we can do it by just simply, you know, adding an environment cleanup hook for everything, and because the other concern is, will this perform, right? Because you know, the environment cleanup hooks, I think ultimately they're stored in a set, which is I think like a binary tree underneath.
You don't want a cleanup hook for everything, don't you? Want one cleanup hook, which
it doesn't matter in the end. Right? Because what are we going to end up doing? We're going to end up storing it on the environment, right? And then we're going to have a set of these finalizers on the environment. So I don't think it's any heavier if we store it and then we give one cleanup hook versus we just put that many cleanup hooks. You know,
the cleanup hooks have to be removed as well. Like, if an object is finalized, you got to get rid of this hook, right?
Yes. But if we don't use cleanup hooks, if we only use one cleanup hook, you still have to get rid of that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess. So there's a remove cleanup hook as well.
Yeah. There is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's exactly the same as a finalizer, only now, you know, it's a cleanup hook.
Right. So. Okay. But you're right. There'll be some interaction with the cleanup hooks in terms of
and they're going to balloon greatly now. So you know, the question is, can the implementation handle that? You know,
right? So, you mean the cleanup hooks will be significantly bigger?
Exactly, that's right. Because every wrap JavaScript object is now going to have a cleanup hook, and it's going to have a finalizer. So it's going to have two things attached: one to the environment and one to the engine, right? Otherwise,
so we already have the finalizer, right? Though.
Yeah, but the finalizer never gets called, right? Because it only gets called if there's a garbage collect pass after the object has gone out of scope.
Right. Oh well, you mean at the shutdown time, there's going to be more overhead.
Yes, but there's also going to be overhead during runtime to know add hooks, remove hooks, add hooks, remove hooks. You know, because if the finalizer does get called, then you have to remove the corresponding cleanup hook.
Right. Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's going to be noisy, and you know we need to worry about performance as well. But first we have to see if it's even possible at all.
Yeah, like if it'll work. But yeah, performance wise, I mean, of course, we only want to do this for workers. For one, right? That's the other thing.
Yeah, I guess yes. If you're not on the main thread, or if you are on the main thread, then don't do any of this. Basically,
exactly. Because I think that at least means that you only take this extra overhead if you're in a worker and you're using a native thing. That
yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So
that way, at least we don't blow everybody's performance out of the water.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we could add a short circuit for when you are on the main thread.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think, are there any other optimizations? So yeah, main thread is one we should optimize for. And then is there anything else that it's kind of like, another option. So this is, these finalizers are mostly there because you have natively allocated memory, right?
Yes.
So if we provide, I'm just thinking top of my head, if we provided an allocator that basically said, here's memory, you use this allocator, and at the end, we're just going to free all of
that. Yeah, I don't know. Giving people an allocator is great and all, but they may want to use their own. That's always the problem with these things, right?
Yeah. Why do you want to use your own allocator?
Well, I don't know. That's the impression I'm getting, right? Because they, I mean that's what V8 does too. It has support for like specifying the allocator and so on and so forth, just to work in as many environments as possible. Like yeah, you could do it this way, right? And we could solve this with documentation alone. We could say for proper multi-threaded. Another insight we've had in our path towards worker threads is not only that, don't store stuff in global static variables, but also that, the things that you wrap may never be deallocated unless you also have a cleanup hook. And so stuff that is left over when the cleanup hook gets called, you should free at that time. Otherwise, people will file bugs saying your module is leaking memory.
Right. So that's definitely good documentation, right? So if that was enough, then there we go, right? But the issue is that we're talking about performance, and like, okay, so we can, if you're going to say that, then, it doesn't sound like, it sounds like we should potentially just have something which will add the hooks for you, right? Because otherwise everybody has to figure out the problem themselves.
How do you mean add the hooks for you?
Well, like you're basically, which is what you're doing. Like you're basically saying we could just document that says add cleanup hooks.
Yes.
But we have the ability to add them for people.
Yes, exactly.
So
that's right.
Well, right.
That's right. Whenever we accept the finalized callback from the add-on, we have the responsibility to actually clean up, or we could assume the responsibility to actually clean up.
Right. So that seems like a good thing. I mean, why force everybody to figure out how to do this if it's a common problem? However,
one reason would be that and I mentioned this, but Anna hasn't had a chance to respond yet because I think she was at the conference in Colombia.
Yeah.
But one reason would be that the structure of the memory and the interdependencies between the various allocated objects may not be trivial. So if we just bunch up all these finalizers and call them, then we may mess up the memory because we free things in the wrong order or whatever. But on the other hand, because they are finalizers and because their semantics are, hey, this could get called anytime.
Yeah.
Or it could not get called at all. Then I would think that their usage in itself would mean that add-on maintainers are prepared to have these things execute in any order whatsoever. So it may actually be okay because they are finalizers to just bunch them up and call them.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing I just thought of too is that finalizers do more than free memory. They can close sockets. They can do a bunch of other stuff.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
that's why my memory, like I was just looking for an optimization that just says, okay, just free all the memory, but it wouldn't handle those other cases.
No, because it's all fragmented, right? Oh, geez,
well,
I gotta
it
go.
wouldn't be the fragmented part, because if you had your own allocator, you could basically know where to, what all to free.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to drop off now.
Okay.
So just food for thought on this
Yep.
topic. All right, talk
Okay.
to you all later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.